The Galactic Senate had been in session for 3 standard cycles, and Earth's representative still hadn't been called to speak. Ambassador Maria Rodriguez sat quietly in the designated minor species section, watching as the major powers debated territorial disputes and trade agreements that would shape the next millennium. Next on the agenda, announced Supreme Chancellor Thexron, his 3-meter frame casting a shadow across the assembly floor, resource allocation for frontier worlds in Sector 7. The Altarian delegate stood immediately, his crystalline form refracting the chamber's light into rainbow patterns. The Altarian Empire claims priority rights. Our mining technology is superior to these primitive attempts. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. The Corvin hive mind's representative clicked approvingly, while the Zephyrian ambassador's energy field pulsed with satisfaction. Ambassador Rodriguez raised her hand quietly. "If I may." "The chair recognizes the Corvin Collective," Thexron announced, completely overlooking the human gesture. This had been humanity's experience for the past 50 years since first contact. They were tolerated in the Galactic Senate, given a small sector of space to govern, and largely ignored. Earth's technology was considered quaint, their military laughably small, and their diplomatic influence non-existent. The galaxy's major powers had more important concerns than a species that barely controlled 12 systems. That changed on a Tuesday. The distress signal from the Corvin border colonies came through standard channels. A routine pirate raid that had escalated beyond local security capabilities. The raiders, calling themselves the Crimson Void Syndicate, had been growing bolder, attacking military installations and enslaving entire populations. The Corvin hive mind requested assistance from the Senate. The Altarians were busy with their own territorial expansion. The Zephyrians cited resource allocation concerns. The other major powers offered the usual bureaucratic delays and committee formations. Ambassador Rodriguez stood up in the assembly chamber. Earth volunteers to assist. The chamber fell silent for a moment before erupting in barely contained laughter. The humans? Chancellor Thexron's voice carried mild amusement. With what fleet? Your entire military consists of, 40 ships? 37 active vessels, Rodriguez corrected calmly. We'll have this resolved within 2 standard weeks. The laughter grew louder. Even the Corvin representative, whose colonies were under attack, seemed skeptical of human assistance. 2 weeks later, the Crimson Void Syndicate ceased to exist. Not defeated, eliminated. Completely. The first reports were dismissed as exaggeration. An entire criminal organization of 12,000 ships and 500,000 personnel couldn't simply vanish. But as investigations continued, the truth became impossible to ignore. Human forces had systematically dismantled the syndicate using tactics no one had seen before. They infiltrated the organization from within, turned pirates against each other, and eliminated leadership structures with surgical precision. The few surviving syndicate members spoke of humans who appeared from nowhere, struck without warning, and disappeared like ghosts. More disturbing were the reports from rescued civilians. The humans hadn't just defeated the pirates. They'd healed the enslaved populations, rebuilt destroyed colonies, and left behind infrastructure improvements that wouldn't be completed for another century. All in 2 weeks, with 37 ships. The Galactic Senate's next session was markedly different. When Ambassador Rodriguez requested the floor, she was recognized immediately. The human delegate wishes to address resource allocation in Sector 12, Chancellor Thexron announced, his tone notably more respectful. Rodriguez stood, and the chamber fell silent. Thank you, Chancellor. Earth proposes joint peacekeeping operations in contested regions. We believe our unique approaches to conflict resolution could benefit the broader galactic community. The Altarian delegate's crystalline form dimmed nervously. What kind of approaches? Comprehensive solutions, Rodriguez replied smoothly. We've found that addressing root causes of conflict, poverty, corruption, resource scarcity, tends to be more effective than traditional military responses. What she didn't mention was how humanity had learned to weaponize compassion, turning enemies into allies faster than conventional forces could eliminate them. How human intelligence networks had mapped every major criminal organization in the galaxy. How Earth's primitive technology included psychological warfare techniques that could topple governments without firing a shot. The vote to grant humanity expanded peacekeeping authority passed unanimously. Later, in private chambers, Chancellor Thexron approached Rodriguez with a question that had been troubling the Senate leadership. Ambassador, how did your species become so effective? Rodriguez smiled, an expression that had become legendary among galactic intelligence agencies. We were ignored for 50 years, Chancellor. Do you know what humans do when they're ignored? What? We watch, we learn, and we prepare. Within a year, humanity had quietly become the galaxy's unofficial police force. Within 5 years, most interstellar conflicts ended with a simple message: human peacekeepers en route. The irony wasn't lost on Rodriguez. They'd spent decades trying to join the galactic community as equals. Instead, they'd become something far more valuable: the species everyone was afraid to upset.